Fireside Chat as part of ETRise Top MSMEs 2021. How can you take thousands of small and medium Indian entrepreneurs, artisans, and brands to global markets through e-commerce? How can they benefit from exposure and selling in a global market and in turn push the growth of India? COVID hit small businesses very hard. And what impact has it had on their ability to market their goods and products worldwide? I'm Aloni Bhatt, and I'm pleased to welcome Pavan Ponnappa of eBay to answer some of these questions. Pavan is part of the leadership team and is head of categories and marketing at eBay India. He has an MBA in strategy and finance from the Indian School of Business, Hyderabad. Pavan, thanks very much for your time today.
Thank you very much, Aloni. Look forward to the conversation.
From your interactions with small businesses, what are the qualities that you see in a firm that can sell globally versus those that may aspire to do so, but they fail?
I think Indian businesses, no matter small or big, I think all of them eventually have the aspiration to grow global. So that I think that is something that we notice in most of the conversations that we have. I think one thing that's really, really important is to see how they appreciate the shifting trends and the move towards e-commerce retail globally. That makes a big difference to how successful they are in terms of e-commerce retail. Now, apart from that, I think one of the key elements that a lot of the small businesses that we see that are successful have a great deal of focus on the overall experience for the customer. And when I say the focus, it's both from a product perspective, that is ensuring that they have the right product and the quality of the product is really high, but also the post-transaction experience and how to ensure that that is also something that's totally taken care of, right? And in addition to this, I think e-commerce, like any other retail business, needs to be run very efficiently. This is a business that's high velocity. Customer expectations are very high in terms of how quickly they get the product, how well the product is packed, in terms of how well the post-transaction experience in terms of certain products where you need customization. So I think being able to manage this operation very efficiently, those are some of the key aspects that we notice where small businesses who are able to do this effectively and have a team that's well trained to do this can really step up and be successful when they export globally.
Right. So these are important differentiators. But you spoke of products. What are the products from India that are competitive in the global market? And is there a certain reason you think we're good at it?
There are, I think it's a wide range of products actually from India. You always have the traditional, you want to call it right to win product categories from India, where you have jewelry, home linen, kitchenware, a lot of metal products which are handmade, home decor, which is a very, very big part of, in the domestic market as well. These are all very traditional, products where India has been manufacturing and exporting globally for a very long time. So these are, I would say directly amenable to global e-commerce trade, cross-border trade. But we've also seen a lot of categories emerging where Indian sellers are able to compete on the global scale and also are able to innovate and bring new products to the market. So if you look at, automotive parts and accessories, which is an interesting space, it's a very, very large market globally. And a lot of consumers are shifting to buying products online. And that's one area where India is beginning to see a lot more traction. There's sporting goods, there's toys. So these are categories which we would say are emerging categories. A lot of these are hobby categories or recreational categories. And Indian sellers are beginning to gain traction. So I think while we do see the traditional product lines growing because of the inherent capability of Indian companies to manufacture and produce those products, some of which are very intricate handcrafted products, to even moving towards slightly more industrial grade products, right? We're seeing that shift happen. We're seeing that emerge as a very, very strong line of products. We also have, products which, one of the reasons that a lot of global buyers look at India is we are the home of Ayurveda, right? And we have a lot of health and beauty products which we've been using, but today I think a lot of them have also grown into domestic brands, which are also world class, and that helps them go out and achieve success even in those international markets where consumers are conscious about ingredients, the way it's manufactured, the guidelines and regulatory elements that they adhere to. So I think that's something that we do focus on, and we see a lot of sellers coming up and selling these products. So I would say these are a broad range that we typically see.
Any special category that emerged in the pandemic?
Yeah, I think a lot of, like I said, the hobby categories, a lot of the folks being indoors, right? Not really stepping out too much. We saw a huge number of people buying products, including fabrics and arts and handicraft products, which traditionally didn't see that kind of traction, suddenly pick up during this entire pandemic. Also, like I said, auto parts is a good time for people to kind of look at their vehicles and make changes, whether they were changing parts, whether they were kind of sprucing them up. Again, something where we saw a kind of a spike during this pandemic period. I think that's opened the doors, and now I think there's a lot more willingness to try and buy products from international sellers, especially from India.
If I'm a small business, if I'm micro business, what is the checklist I need before I'm ready for e-commerce?
So I think the first and foremost thing that you need as a business that wants to sell globally is to have an understanding of the demand. I think that's where a lot of us, including the marketplaces, come into play, where we're able to actually tell sellers what is it that really sells. So I think that's the first thing you've got to understand. Our products do apply. Now, then it comes down to the sellers and the manufacturers, the brands being able to bring those products at a competitive price to the platform. Now, in some cases, it might require to customize the product depending on the kind of demand that's there, and being very specific about what kind of attributes the product has. So I think the product fit for the demand, I think that's the first thing we got to get right. The second thing is being able to ensure that you have a reliable supply chain. And when I say reliable, I'm talking about from a supplier base point of view. In the current situation, given the kind of supply constraints that exist, one of the challenges has been for businesses to make sure that they have a reliable supply chain, which ensures there are alternate suppliers, even if they don't have their tier one supplier available. And I think that makes a difference, how well you can manage your supply, because there are going to be periods of peak demand. And if you're not able to capture that demand, you're going to lose out a significant amount of business. So I think businesses that are able to have that degree of flexibility. And the third thing I would say is really having a team that is trained to continuously focus on the e-commerce business. This is a 24/7 business. And when you're selling globally, you're looking at multiple time zones, you're looking at different regulatory requirements, as well as including shipping and customs, right? So your teams need to be on the ball all the time. I think sellers who are able to do that are definitely more successful than those who don't. So I think that is, I would say, the key elements. Everything else is something that I would expect a marketplace to bring to the seller, right? Whether it's in terms of tools to sell, in terms of tools to discover pricing, shipping aggregation options, and various other things which the platform, including payments options and so on. That's something that the platforms like eBay would bring to the table. But everything, I think, the remaining of what the sellers need to concentrate or focus on.
So including the data that allows them to make that informed decision about, whether their product is viable for a global market?
Yes. I think the way our platforms are evolved, and eBay has been in this business for 25 years, as an open marketplace, one of the things that we have is a lot of data across every single market, across every single category, right? And we can bring that to fruit in terms of whatever type of analytics and information a seller needs right on his computer, right? So he has the ability to understand what is selling in his category, what are the keywords that people are searching for, what are the price points at which comparable products are selling, and everything is available in a self-serve mode. They don't really need to wait for someone to come and share that information with them. It's something that we make available. And I think open marketplaces have been traditionally D2C at scale, if you want to call it, where sellers are actually able to understand their customer, interact with their customer, in every possible way, from a pre-transaction to a post-transaction experience. So I think data, information, and tools are available. So I think from that point of view, we've got the small businesses, medium enterprises covered. It's much, much easier for them to just bring their product and be ready to sell.
Right. But what about when it comes to the really small ones, and especially the role of technology? Because there is a possibility that, they may be hesitant with it, not be too familiar with it. Do you have a lot of those on the platform as well? And what's the kind of handholding available for them?
I think one thing, of course, technology has democratized a lot of it, but like you said, there are sellers who need support. And that's one of the reasons, eBay as a business in India, the focus of our teams is to work with the sellers, right? And when I say that, it means right from the point of bringing them onto the platform, signing them up, making sure they have all their documentation in place, to then getting them to list their products, right? I think that's the very early stage. But post that, we have seen sellers requiring support to get them to their first sale. And once they get their first sale and they go through the entire transaction cycle, they're pretty much ready. And thereafter, the role of the team kind of shifts towards giving them insights and being able to help them, use all the tools, whether it's marketing and promotion tools, whether it is pricing tools, to really get their business to scale. But like you said, we've seen a lot of sellers, including sellers who, as single artisans came onto platforms, came onto the platform and have, over the last 3-4 years, figured out along with our teams how they've got to build their products, how they've got to market and sell their products on the platform, and eventually scale their business. And today, some of these sellers who started off as a single man enterprise is a 30-40 member team selling across 40 plus countries, and they almost have 50% of their business coming from buyers on eBay, which really is making a difference or an impact to every small seller, like you said.
Can you give us a slice of the kind of sellers that you'd have from India, across the range?
Yeah, so we actually did a very interesting 8-part series very recently, where we ran video. It was a video series about some of our sellers, and almost every one of those sellers had a fantastic story to tell of how they began their business and how they scaled it. We have sellers who started off as jewelry artisans and have grown their business to a multi-crore business over the last 5 years. We have sellers who were manufacturers of rugs and carpets, were unable to figure out how they're going to really sell overseas while they had the product. And within a matter of 9 months, our team was able to give them the insights they needed to really scale their business up in such a way that they now actually have almost 90% of the business coming through the platform. We have very, very interesting stories on auto parts, where one of our sellers actually moved from the UK to India, and he started off selling replacement parts. Today he has a whole range of accessories that he actually manufactures for some of the top, compatible for some of the top automotive brands, and sells them on eBay. So it's been very, very interesting journeys and stories that we have seen, and I think that's what keeps the team going. Every time you hear the story, you see the story, I think it really brings a lot of it to life.
You spoke of the adoption of new technology, but the investment, which is the initial investment in a new technology, in this case being e-commerce, is much heavier for a small business. So from your vantage, how important do you think it is for an SME or an MSME to quickly get a critical mass of customers, so they're reassured?
I think The good part is we've got the sellers right from the get-go to start very easy and quickly onto the platform. The cost of starting up on a platform like eBay is very, very minimal. I think the documentation just is something that is very, very simple and regulatory for every business that operates in India, and that is not really a challenge. And even if that requires support, the entire organization is there to back them up. I think the really good part, like you said, is getting customers quickly so that you have the critical mass to kind of scale your business. Like I said, once you're on the platform, uh, you're pretty much ready from the get-go to start selling. You have the ability to decide whether you want to sell across different countries and marketplaces just at the click of a button, and that we also enable you to ship to those countries, not just the one single country that you might want to start with. So I think that allows you to very quickly scale your business and get that critical mass going. And we have seen sellers who come onto the platform within the first 3 months start selling across 3 or 4 key markets, and that allows them to get the runway in terms of having that customer base that allows them to be profitable and scale quickly. As an open marketplace, one of the things that we are confident about is sellers are going to be able to run a highly profitable business. And that's why, if you ask me honestly, I don't see the investment into the business as a significant concern for sellers who want to sell.
But what about when it comes to, say, security of payments or privacy of data? Do you see that as being a point of hesitation for a lot of these MSMEs, to come on board? What is it that they can do, so that they can be reassured on that count?
I mean, it definitely is, something that they will consider, and it's extremely important that they consider it. I think it makes a difference for them to have the business continue to be sustainable, right? So it's extremely important they do that. The good bit is eBay as a platform, I think a lot of it hinges on how we manage and keep data secure, given that we operate in highly regulated markets. So as from that point of view, be it payments, be it seller information, that's extremely secure. And as a matter of fact, we have very, very stringent policies around how data is used and shared. So sellers can be absolutely sure and confident that their information, as well as payment-related data and information, is extremely secure. So that really is something that we have taken care of. Also, I think as an ecosystem and as e-commerce market, India has seen a lot of transition towards digital payments and so on, and that helps sellers understand this better. And of late, eBay has even moved towards intermediating and managing payments. So that's further improved the level of conviction in terms of how payments will be managed. And it's pretty much everything happens on eBay as a platform.
So if you get all of these mixes right, then what is the next step for them? Is it building a brand? And, what is then the marketing playbook to be competitive on that global scale?
Every business, I don't think it's an imperative to build a brand. I think, I just want to put that out, that a seller selling a product does not necessarily have to build a brand, right? I think a lot of the sellers that we have seen have evolved, and I think it's a journey. A lot of them, especially the smaller businesses, have evolved, sold products, not necessarily with a branded name or building a brand. But as they grow and cross a certain threshold, it's then that they actually start looking at how do I start building a brand, and how do I really look at promoting and making that brand recognizable on the platform for my buyers. So from that point of view, I think it's not an imperative. Having said that, a lot of brands do sell on the platform. It's easy for them to come onto the platform, explore new markets, use the tools that are at the disposal, whether it is any form of display advertising they want to do, whether it is, we have a whole host of models for promoting your products, including click-based promotions, including promotion models which are based on sale and acquisition and not really just on clicks. So that allows every brand or seller to choose what works for them best in terms of their product, their price point, what kind of velocity they see on their products, and that allow that kind of option. These kind of options enable them to decide what makes them run a most profitable enterprise. And like I said, the focus for us is it's a win-win. As long as sellers are able to run their business profitably, they continue to stay on the platform and sell. And most of our sellers who are successful today are sellers who've been on the platform for the last 7-10 years. And that is really a testament to the fact that as an open marketplace, they are able to run their business very efficiently, and it continues to be the way that it goes.
So what's the kind of growth that you've seen, at eBay when it comes to the onboarding of MSMEs over the last couple of years?
I would say it's definitely accelerated. We've always had small and medium enterprises selling. I think the velocity of that movement has increased in the last 2 years. I think the COVID situation, the pandemic has also forced some of these sellers to come on and look at e-commerce very, very hard and kind of figure out, what do I do if I want to keep my business going and scale it, right? And I think that's kind of one of the reasons we are also seeing that transition. As a business, as an enterprise, we have tried to make sure that we are able to enable as many sellers as possible. And doing so, we are also trying to work with a variety of stakeholders, starting with industry bodies. We work very closely with FIO. We work very closely with the Gems and Jewelry Export Promotion Council. We work with state governments like the UP government, the government of Haryana. So all of these partnerships are there to enable as many of these small and medium enterprises to come on board and sell. We definitely seen, I would say, a multi-fold increase in the last 2 years with micro and small enterprises coming onto the platform, and it will continue to be our focus. There's, without a doubt, we've still scratched just the surface, and there's a lot more. And we just recently released an SMB report, which also kind of highlighted that a lot of the sellers that were actually coming on board were coming on board from what we typically call tier 2-3 cities and beyond, which is extremely interesting for us, because that's one way for us to reach out to the small and medium enterprises.
Right. So what are some of your plans when it comes to India? You listed some of your, some goals. If you could share those goals with us. You're working with governments and state governments and industry bodies. Can you share some of the other goals when it comes to?
Yeah. So I think each of the partnerships obviously is intended to bring a particular type of supply onto the platform. For example, when we work with the Gems and Jewelry Export Promotion Council, our focus is how do we bring jewelry, especially diamond jewelry, high ASP jewelry, something that India is known for. How do we make that available on the platform? How do we scale that? How do we work with global teams to ensure that there is a greater opportunity for the big sellers, the big exporters, and the small sellers to operate on the platform, right? And I think we are going to definitely focus on some key categories where, like I mentioned in the beginning, where we definitely have a right to win, whether it's gems and jewelry, whether it's Ayurveda, whether it's home linen, home decor, kitchenware, and so on. And I think where we are beginning to start, I would say, seeing interest from the Indian sellers in the emerging categories. I think that's a journey that will take time, but we are providing every opportunity for these sellers to come on board, especially on the industrial grade products, because there is, eBay as a marketplace that was pretty unique. We do operate a very, very wide spectrum of products, starting from small trinkets and jewelry to big machines, right? So it allows a very vast range of sellers, a lot of metal fabrication companies, and so on. So I think those will continue to evolve over time. But yes, as I mentioned, some of the right to win categories is what we would focus on in building supply from India.
It sounds all very exciting, and it's good to know that small Indian businesses are growing on your platform and are able to market their goods, their products to the wider world. Thank you very much, Pavan Ponnappa, Head of Categories and Marketing at eBay India. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you, Minoli. Thank you very much. Take care.